everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brittany and I am a new dentist ready to start her journey in real life dentistry. You probably clicked on this video because you're interested in what the new WREB is like. And so if you're interested in that and you're about to take your WREB, or maybe you are a dental student, you know, you're gonna take the WREB in 2 years or who knows when in another year, this video is for you. WREB stands for Western Regional Examination Board. And WREB is one of the testing agencies that is for the licensed tests in the United States. Besides WREB, there are other testing agencies that have these licensing exams, including ADEX and some other few. How you can tell which test you want to take is probably depending on where you want to practice in the United States. I will put a map right here, or here, or here, somewhere here, that shows which states the WREB covers. If, for example, you went to my school and you wanted to practice in Florida, which takes the ADEX, then you would have to go to another school that provides the ADEX. I hope that made sense. WREB consists of many different parts. The first part is the CTP, or the Comprehensive Treatment Planning. And it's a test, a computer test that you take on Prometric. And it's, I don't really remember the details, but they give you different radiographs, different charts, and then you're supposed to kind of figure out what treatment it is. Don't do anything drastic, you know, you don't want to make kind of like those critical errors. So you take the CTP probably like 6 months, or I don't really know exactly, but several months before you take the WREB. Now my WREB was originally scheduled in March, but of course we didn't get to follow through with it until recently in June. I took the CTP around September or October. So that's the first part of WREB. Then there are different sections. So the ones that you absolutely have to do are the operative sections, the perio section, and also the endo section. Now, the perio section and the operative section were originally supposed to be on live patients. We were supposed to test with live patients. You were supposed to bring your perio patient, you're supposed to bring your operative patient. But because, as you all know, because of the pandemic, thankfully, WREB and other testing agencies were able to make a Manikin-based test. So it really depends on what state you're in if they accept the Manikin-based test. Now, thankfully, the state I'm in has said yes to the Manikin-based test for the WREB. However, I'm not sure if this will be the same case for the years to come. And I'm really hoping that it will be the same for the future years, because dentistry is one of the only healthcare fields where we have to actually prove to the state, prove to the dental board that we can do it on real life patients. For example, in medicine, they don't ask you to do, provide your own patient to do an open heart surgery or whatever. You know what I mean? So with dentistry, traditionally, it's been so many years where we had to provide our own patients and do the work on them and get graded. So I think I was very, very lucky. We were very lucky. One of the good sides is that we were able to do it on Manikin. And this eliminates a lot of the stress where we have to find our own patients, which that was very, very difficult for me. We have to, screen them, make sure that their lesions or their caries are the right fit. We had to make sure for the SRPs, or the deep cleanings, that we had to make sure that they had the right criteria, like they had enough chunks of calculus, so to say. And there's also an additional stress where you want to make sure your patient comes. If you don't really know them and they bail on you last minute, that's a fail for you already. And a lot of the time, students feel like they have to give a gift card or something to their patients so they would come, or pay for their gas money so they would come. So that is eliminating that stress. So thankfully that was a thing. Because of the whole pandemic, perio was no longer required because you can't do a Manikin test with that. They made it so that the Comprehensive Treatment Planning, or the CTP test, covered perio. So then we only had to worry about operative, endo, and because my state needs prosthodontics, prosthodontics. Pros isn't necessary for all states, but for sure operative and endo. Okay, now going on to the details. So of course you can find out the details in your handbook. So this is mine, the 2020 Dental Exam Candidate Guide. And honestly, I got this before the whole pandemic. So there are still rules here about your patient coming in and what rules and what type of patient they have to be, what type of caries they had to have. So this is a little outdated, but the endo and the pros should be good in this handbook. The only thing is, like, I had to print out the new operative guide. Biggest tip for you all, I'm jumping into the tips, is really know your handbook inside and out. This is what they're grading you on, and honestly, if you can go more in depth, I'm not gonna go in depth with the grading, but the scale is there for each, section. There are different categories that you have to complete, and it's by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll kind of show you with a close-up later. But the thing is, they don't really tell you exactly, the measurements for some of the categories. So it's like based on your best judgment and everything like that, and kind of what you learned in school. So I had to cross-reference what I learned in school, because some of the criteria, it doesn't say exactly. 3s are acceptable, and they grade based on the median. So I think there's 3 instructors that grade your whatever it is. They'll take the median of it, and that works out a little bit more fair. Again, if you want to know the grading details, I really encourage you all to take a look at your grading rubric, because I don't want to make this video longer than it is, and honestly, I'm sure you can read the directions. I'm going to be telling you the tips and kind of the different things that we had to do in the operative, endo, and the pros. So for the operative section, we were given 3.5 hours, and we were supposed to complete number 9 ML composite, prep and fill, as well as number 14 MO prep and fill, and you had a choice between amalgam or composite. So how it works is that you had 3.5 hours to kind of figure out how long you wanted to prep for and how long you wanted to fill for. So the preps were prep to ideal, and then once you were done and you felt like it was good, you would turn in your arches, and then you would turn them in a plastic bag to the proctors, and then after that they would give you new arches to fill. Now here's a plot twist, everybody. The preps that they already pre-made for us were huge. Don't let that scare you. Don't let that think that, oh, my preps have to be really, really big too, but just letting you know that the preps they gave us were really, really big. And for the number 14 MO, it was very gingival as well. So make sure that you get a good matrix in there so you can go all the way gingival, or else, that would be bad if you didn't get all the way into gingival, right? I found that I thought that I would be able to fill quicker than I did prep, but at the end I was kind of rushing last minute. I was able to finish, of course. I was kind of rushing last minute because I didn't anticipate how long it would take me to fill and polish. Another thing is that the teeth that were used were the Pro teeth. I didn't have those teeth at school. I mean, I did to practice with, but these weren't the teeth that I was always practicing with. So one thing to note is that these type of teeth, the Pro teeth, are very powdery. So when you use your handpiece to prep the teeth, be really careful and really cautious, because all the powder will just kind of like go everywhere. So you want to make sure if you have a toothbrush or air water syringe to just spray it down so you can make sure everything is there. My friend told me that he wasn't really being careful and he wasn't able to clean the area very well, so he made his prep, he thought it was too big, but of course he passed, so. Endo, what we had to do is number 9, basically from start to finish, access, clean and shape, obturation, as well as number 30, which was just the access. So endo was the section that I thought I almost failed, and I'll tell you why, but thankfully it was fine. I think part of the reason is because dentists are the ones who grade it, not endodontists, and the way we were at school, the endodontists were the ones that taught us endo, so maybe they were really, really strict. So I was like, oh my god, this is not perfect, so they're gonna fail me. The teeth were different than what we used. Then I feel like every time when the teeth are different, it really throws me off. We were doing the access when I was practicing back at school. it wasn't like exactly the same. And I should know, you know, real life is not going to be exactly the same as well. The canals, they can range a lot. I was talking to my friends and they use different types of master apical cone. I used like a 40 or something, but I wish that it would have been bigger. Like that was the one thing I felt like my obturation wasn't as dense, but I know some people use like a 45 or a 50. Like I said, don't just reach for those cones. Don't know if that is going to be the same as yours, like that tooth is going to be the same. Just kind of play by ear and make sure to double check. Don't just put a 45 in there just because I told you so, right? So a lot of people had trouble with the number 9 because when they were cleaning, you know, the orifice and everything, the lingual part of the crown fractured. And so I think I had like 5 students who that happened to. So that was really, really scary for them. And then the proctor had to sign off on it. But just be really careful. It seems like these teeth are very fragile. Now for number 30, a big tip for that is just for both of these endo teeth, the fake pulp was really soft and sticky. So I wasn't able to like clean it all the way. And I was really, really pressed for time. So I believe the endo was 3 hours, but I felt like I had to go. Like it was so scary. But I felt like I wasn't able to completely clean out the pulp, the fake pulp, because it was so sticky. So just keep that in mind. And then for the number 30 access, it took me longer than I thought because the mesiolingual canal was way closer with the mesiobuccal canal. So when you start, be sure to start, when you're accessing, be sure to start towards the middle of the tooth, because like, you know, if I had a tooth right here, I would usually start towards the mesial, but then the canals weren't really towards the mesial. But I would definitely say start from the center and then move your way mesial and distally to find the 3 canals. Why I didn't like my endo is because, like I said, I did not feel like it was perfect, you know, silly old me, but I felt like there were some voids in my obturation. Like I said, it wasn't that dense, but it seemed fine. They still gave me a 4, so. Okay, the last section is the pros section. And then, so this one, we needed to do a number 9 all ceramic crown and also a number 3 and 5 bridge prep. And you had the choice of doing a gold preparation or a PFM. And I chose PFM. You're thinking, why, Brittany? Well, for me personally, it's hard for me to get that smaller, like, you know, with gold, it's like 0.5. It's hard for me to fit that smaller range. And I personally like to have some wiggle room. So that's why I went ahead with the PFM. Pro section was my best section. So I'm very happy about that. So really up to you whether you want to do a gold or a PFM preps for the bridge. But this one, again, the teeth were very powdery, so make sure that you are able to clean with the air water syringe as well as the toothbrush. Last section was 3.5 hours, and I felt like that was more than enough. The only thing is number 3 and 5, well, at least in my school, we did not have cheeks on the mannequin, so people would literally like put the mannequin like this, if you know what I mean, and direct vision and do that for number 3 and 5. But the proctors would go around and be like, hey, don't do that. What about the cheek? What about the ear? So my proctors, I mean, they didn't yell at me because I tried not to do it, but they would kind of like gently scold the other people. I don't know if they got docked off points for that. I don't know. Just letting you know that they're kind of strict about like the direct vision for number 3 and number 5. I passed, thankfully, but I thought that, you know, a big tip for you all is when you're studying the criteria, definitely look at what a 3 is, because I would always kind of look at a 5 and I'd be like, yeah, I'm shooting for a 5, I'm shooting for a 5. But it wasn't until later on where I looked at what the 3 criteria was, because that's the passing. It did seem like the graders were a little bit tougher on operative. Although I felt like the graders were a little bit, you know, strict, I still passed, so I'm not complaining. So just letting you guys know, operative is what it seems like they really like look deeply on. So I think the best advice for all of you is, besides reading and knowing the criteria very well, is to practice very seriously. So my school, we were out of school, and then they let us come in once a week to practice, and I practiced 3 times. And so when I practiced, I felt like I kind of rushed with everything, and I was like, oh, this is great. I have enough time. But I failed to realize that when I was actually doing the real thing, I would take more time because I wanted to make it perfect, you know? Whereas when I was practicing, I felt like I was speeding through it, and I'm like, yeah, I got this. But I wasn't really taking the time to really see, okay, measuring every single thing. I was kind of more like, okay, like, let me practice. You know, it wasn't really like practicing it seriously. So that is a huge tip that I would have for you guys. They told us that they would have the results by 4 weeks, but we got it in 2 weeks, and they send you an email, and then you just check wreb.org. The results, unlike previous years where you would literally probably get them the next day, we didn't have on-site graders. So what I heard, it was that they would like ship our stuff and then ship it off to who knows where, and that's where they would grade it. So they told us that we would get our results in 4 weeks, but we got it in 2 weeks, or 2.5 weeks. So it wasn't too bad. So hopefully you all find this video very helpful. I really, really hope that next year and the years to come, there will be Manikin tests, because I don't really think it's fair, because there was just like kind of like a big movement for Manikin tests anyways, but it was kind of the pandemic that pushed it to that direction. So I'm really, really hoping if you're, you know, not taking your REB until next year or in the future years, that the Manikin will be yes. But again, it depends on your state, because at first I thought, oh, it's the REB's fault. It's not. It's pretty much where you want to practice and whether they say it's a yes or no. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I wish you all the best, and hopefully you all get your licenses as well. Bye.